Let's play a game. What would you do if you were general manager of the Blues for a day?
Hey, this is Brayden Chen. Subscribe to Lock On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, a fun episode for you today as we enter the month of August under the radar. That is right. We're going to talk about players that maybe we don't talk enough about. Players that don't get the recognition that we should be giving some recognition to. Blues and beef. And I'm not talking about the food. I am talking about the beef that we have with certain teams this upcoming season. And then finally, the segment that I teased in the very beginning, if I were GM for the day, what would I do? So if I were the GM, I'm going to talk about what I would do. So we have a lot to get into. So let's start with under the radar. So no, this is not going to be about Robert Thomas or Jordan Kyrou, Jordan Binnington, Colton Parayko even. This is going to be about the guys that maybe we don't give enough credit to. Players such as the Aussie Nathan Walker. Nathan Walker for me, and I've gone over statistics. We don't have to do that again. I just want to talk about what I observed from him playing this season. He is a player that puts his all in. And I feel like players like him in general maybe don't get enough recognition because maybe they're the players that don't put up the most amount of points. Maybe they don't get the most amount of ice time. They don't always play every single game, but they're the players that show up physically. They show up for the team emotionally, and they show up for the city. Are you kidding me? I feel like there is nobody that loves St. Louis more than Nathan Walker. And I mean, besides him being from the Down Under, and I think that's super cool in the accent, he genuinely cares about the success of the team. And you have a lot of players, and I'm not talking about on the Blues, but in general, that want to succeed individually. While, yes, it is a team sport, you have those guys that still want to be able to get their records. And I think that's great, right? But Nathan Walker is such an interesting player because he doesn't play for him. He plays for everyone else and the Blue Note. And you might be wondering, Hale, how do you know this? I've talked to Nathan Walker. I have spoke to him numerous times. And every single time I talk to Nathan Walker, he brings up his line mates, he brings up his other fellow teammates. He does not talk about himself. He talks about everyone else. And for that alone, I need to give him credit because we're going to talk more about individual players as we're nearing the beginning of the season. Shortly, it's coming. But I feel like right now in this segment, it would be a disservice not to mention Nathan Walker because I do feel like he is one of the more physical players on the team. And that definitely showcased whenever he would be on the ice. And he's not the biggest guy either. So, when Nathan Walker is, a little bit of a checking and all, that he's putting it all out there because he's not the biggest guy, but he is one of those players that puts his all in. And for that reason alone, Nathan Walker is under the radar for me. This next player might surprise you. And it surprised me, but a player that we haven't really talked much about, and I'm not just saying on this podcast, but also I haven't heard much about through the other blues media. I haven't heard much through the national media is Jake Neighbors. Now, I know Jake maybe didn't have like the best season, right? But he still did play good, especially in the second half. And I feel like he was somebody, and this is just my opinion, that had a lot of expectations about him for, I guess his longevity as a blue. And maybe he didn't shine the way that he has shined prior. And I said that this is a player I want to see step up, but he still has so much potential and he's still very valuable. So for that reason alone, I'm going to put him under the radar. Yes, get the goals up, get the assists up. I want to see explosive Jake. That's what I want to see when the season begins. I want to see explosivity. I want Jake Neighbors to get people to talk about him again because he was the prospect. Let me take you back. He was the prospect we were all so excited about seeing pan out. And I know that he has the ability to do it. Sometimes you have seasons that are not the best, and it's not like he had a bad season. It just wasn't the best season. So I want to see Jake explode, but it's so crazy to me that we don't talk about Jake Neighbors, who has such talent and such charisma, and he's still so young 20s, and we're not talking about him. He is part of the future of the team potentially. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. When Zach Bolduc was traded, I said I'm surprised that the team didn't try to move Jake Neighbors, considering Bolduc was younger, and I was very taken back by that. But they see a lot of potential in Jake Neighbors, and I truly, truly, truly believe he's going to have a really good upcoming season. So that is a player that for me was under the radar. Another player who was under the radar is a player who is a fan favorite here in the Lou, and I know you know who I'm going to say because as soon as I said fan favorite, we know it's not Patrick Maroon. No, it is Oscar Sundquist, and I love Sonny. Now, this is a player, and I feel like a lot of these players, with the exception of Neighbors that I have mentioned so far, maybe don't produce enough points for people's likings, goals, assists, you name it. But they're the players that show up. They're the players that have the passion, and they're the players that are more physical. And for me, Sonny will always be one of those players that I'm always going to mention because he shows up every single time he takes a shift on the ice. And I don't know what the future holds for him, right? But what I do know is that this upcoming season, we're going to see him play a hard hitting hockey game. That's the way that I can say it. So I wanted to give him some props as well. All right, let's give a defenseman. Ooh, a defenseman who was under the radar. You know, I was actually kind of debating about saying this name because I don't feel like he is under the radar, but maybe. Cam Fowler, hi. Cam Fowler is a player for me that's a little bit under the radar, maybe not with us here in St. Louis, but just overall. I mean, playing almost 1,000 games with Anaheim, I feel like we never really heard much about Cam Fowler nationally, right? He wasn't a player that people talked about. However, he comes here to the Lou and he played exceptional hockey. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He played his 1,000th game, by the way, in the Winter Classic, even though it was on New Year's Eve. Still not a fan of that. But the point is that he did score multiple goals. It was a very cool game for Cam. But this is a player that, and I'm going to talk about this later on, that needs to be extended. I mean, he is such a valuable piece to the Blues' defense right now. The Blues may not have the strongest defensive core. I know, shocking, right? But at the end of the day, you need to rely on guys like a Cam Fowler to produce and to help the younger talent on your team. And again, we can debate about this if you think that he deserves an extension or what that should even look like. But for me personally, I need to give him more credit because he did play such a vital role in the turnaround of the Blues' season last year. I mean, you have to remember before Cam Fowler, it was a little messy. And then we get Cam Fowler, and the Blues began producing a lot of wins, and he helped out tremendously defensively. So those are my 4 players that I have under the radar. This will be a recurring segment where I'm going to talk about some other players that maybe I didn't touch on here, maybe in some more details, but those were the 4 guys I had written down because those were the 4 players I was a little bit surprised that I wasn't talking enough about. All right, coming up, I'm going to talk to you about blues and the beefs. It's such a silly segment name, but it's so fitting because it's actually a reality that we do have beef with certain teams or fan bases, I should say, especially the fan bases. So we'll get talking on that. But first, I want to talk to you about my friends over at Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So, in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. One thing that I love about Monarch Money is that it's all in one place, okay? I don't have to open up like a million and one tabs online. No, it's all in one place. And Monarch Money just makes it super easy for me personally because it is on the app, okay? So there's no more, oh, let me go close out of this. Let me go open this. No, no, no. It's all in one place. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Well. I don't know how to say that. But I was trying to sound a little bit like mischievous, like well. Whatever. I tried. I talk hockey. I don't act. Um, Yeah, the Blues. We have some beef with a couple of teams this upcoming season. Number 1 team for me is the Chicago Blackhawks. And there's nothing, absolutely nothing that the Blackhawks could do that would take that number 1 spot away from them. Just like the Blackhawks got number 1 in the draft, well, not this year, but the year prior. You also get number 1 for being the most hated, in my opinion. It's the fan base, it's the team as a whole, it's the organization, it's everything about being a Chicago Blackhawk that makes it for me impossible impossible for me to like. It's the history, it's the proximity. We're so close to each other that, in all honesty, I feel like that kind of feeds into it. But it's the history. There's so much that goes on. I mentioned the fans. The fans, listen, I'm happy that you have a hockey team in your city. I know. If it wasn't for the Blackhawks, the Blues wouldn't have been a team. I know the history, okay? I know all about the history and why the Blues even came about, okay? I get it. However, it is 2025. We're moved past that. I hate the Blackhawks. Nothing is going to change that. So for me, that is my number 1 team that I have a beef with. Now, my number 2 team, it might surprise you because this is not a team in the Central. This is a team in the Pacific. And this is a team that, in my my humble opinion, has some of the rudest fans. And that is, I know this is going to be very surprising to you all, the San Jose Sharks. And that actually, I actually was surprised about how the fans were. Um, I don't know if it's because I say the phrase hand pass and that sends the fan base into a frenzy. I don't know. However, I made a hand pass joke and the Sharks fans did not like that. Now, what I will say about San Jose, they have a lot of great talent. A lot of great talent. And I'm envious of some of the talent that they have. That they drafted recently. But at the same time, when they are ready to play in the NHL, I'm not going to hate on those players. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not going to hate on the talent. Like, that's not my problem with the Sharks. It goes back to when we won the Stanley Cup, the whole hand pass situation. And then when you make a joke about it years later, their fans still come at you. Like, I don't know how to explain it. But for me, San Jose is just one of those teams that has a fan base that I just have a really difficult time being able to see the positive in. Anyways, let's move on to another Central Division team. It is a team that always, and when I mean always, puts up a tough fight against the Blues. And I actually think the Blues play their best hockey against them, and that is the Dallas Stars. I am telling you, if you want to see really good hockey, like playoff style hockey in the regular season, watch whenever the Blues and the Stars play each other. I don't know if it's like a goalie battle between Jake Ottinger and Jordan Binnington. It might be, but it is such great hockey, like exceptional hockey. So for me, I don't necessarily have a beef with the Dallas fans, but I can say that I don't know if it's like the players personally. I don't know whatever. It's great hockey. They both hate each other. It's fine. So for that reason I like it. Okay, let's get back to the fun stuff. This is kind of like more of like blues. Like this is more like Haley and her beef with different fan bases in the NHL. No, but another team that I feel like all of us blues fans have somewhat beef with, and we're coming up on the anniversary soon, is the Edmonton Oilers. I know. Listen, I can respect greatness. Connor McDavid, he's a great player. Draisaitl, great player. Especially die Deutsch, meine Freundin. Yeah, I speak German too. What's up? Um, but what I can't respect is the fan base, and not all of the fan base, but some of the fan base that came at Dylan Holloway when he got injured this past season. I saw some nasty, nasty posts on social media of people being like, oh, typical Dylan Holloway. Why is it that you find joy in when a player gets injured? I will never understand that mentality. That's a very sad and pathetic mentality. And I hate to be that way. I hate to be rude and coming at anybody, but that is the reality. If you were okay with a player getting injured enough to post about it online and said, well, I guess we won the trade. First off, it wasn't even like that. You didn't win anything really. Like, yeah, you got draft picks, congratulations. But the Blues still won at the end of the day. First off, secondly, to go that low, like it just blows my mind. Dylan Holloway is one of the hardest working players I have watched in recent years take the ice. He is a phenomenal talent. Injuries happen. Point blank. Injuries happen. So I found it really weird that the Edmonton fan base and not all of the Oilers fans found somewhat maybe joy in that. Um, we also need to talk about the fact that Broberg and Holloway didn't necessarily want to leave Edmonton. They wanted to get paid more money, and that was the Oilers' own fault for not first off being able to pay them before the offer sheets. Oh, and then when the offer sheets come in, they couldn't match even one. So when I see Edmonton fans, freaking out, oh, the Blues stole our guys. No, your team just didn't pay them the money that they deserved. And sure, did the Blues overpay? Maybe by a little bit, not a lot, not with how they produced last season. And then, oh, here's the best. Here is the best. Dylan Holloway didn't do enough in the playoffs. He was injured. I saw posts like that, I swear. Like, it was crazy. And then finally, one other fan base that I think that we might have a little bit of beef with this upcoming season will be the Winnipeg Jets, and their fan base. I think they're very passionate. I think they're one of the most passionate fan bases. Like, I love how they do the anthem. I love the whiteout. I think it's awesome, right? So, woo! Congratulations on that. But what I don't like is that every single time I brought up that game 7, I see Winnipeg Jets fans commenting 1.6. I I know what happened. I watched. I did a live stream after. I crashed out after, and I'm seeing that not just with my stuff, but just any Blues posts in general. These Winnipeg fans are commenting 1.6. Winnipeg, let me remind you. Did your goalie get pulled in 3 of the games? Did Connor Hellebuyck play all 60 minutes in St. Louis? No, he didn't. So, therefore, you can't say anything. Um, that was stupid of me, I know. I need to do like an episode where I just roast different teams. Like that would be kind of fun. Anyways, let's go talk about if I were GM for the day, if I was Doug Armstrong. But first, make sure to like and subscribe to Locked On Blues here on YouTube, as well on Twitter at Locked On Blues. I post all the time about the Blues. Obviously, it's called Locked On Blues. So again, thank you and make sure to check it out because I feel like, and I'm just, I'm a little biased. I feel like my tweets can be kind of funny sometimes. Yay. Haha. Okay, let's get into the hockey stuff. Anyways, Cam Fowler, he is approaching year 8 of his 8-year contract. What does that mean? That this upcoming season, well, after this season, he'll be a UFA, an unrestricted free agent. So if I were Doggy A, you know what I would do? Hey, Cam, we want to extend you. That's what I would do. Okay. Let's go say Cam says, okay, that's fine. For how much? How long? Well, let's take a look back. With his contract that he currently has, he makes about 6.5 mil AAV. So, you know what I would do? He's going to be 34. Hmm. Let's extend Cam for 2 years. Why 2 years? Because you don't have to worry about the whole contract and negotiation for the upcoming season. You have that settled. And I would pay him 6.5 million. And I know what you're thinking. Oh my gosh, are we going to overpay? No, 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 no. Because every single year the cap goes up, by the way. So for that, you'll be fine. And secondly, earlier in this episode, I told you all of the good things that Cam Fowler has done for the Blues. So it would make sense. It would make a lot of sense to extend him. And I don't think that money is crazy at all. I think that he is one of your top defensemen. So, yeah, for me personally, call me crazy, but I would 100% extend Cam Fowler. So I'm pulling up another contract. And I have to tell you, this this is a player that I have a difficult time talking about just because I'm so contemplated on this situation. However, this is Justin Folk and 6.5 milli AAV. We know that. That's not the issue. This is the issue that I have right now. I am so nervous for what he's going to do this upcoming season. If the Blues end up keeping him, right? There's always the possibility that he has a great season. He produces. He plays the defense that we're used to seeing him play. However, if he plays the same way that he did last season, that's an issue. And for me personally, he signed a 7-year contract back in 2019. And at the time, that was great. But you're always going to run into these issues, by the way, at the end of these long contracts. It's the final couple years where it gets a little bit iffy. So if I were if I were Doug Armstrong, I would kind of look at the market. Would anybody be interested in him? And I know that probably is something that Doug did already, but I would be curious because at the end of the day, and I know, Doug did say this at his end of the season presser that if the Blues let in last minute goals how they did last season, that's going to be an issue come December. Why can't it be an issue come prior to October? And I know that sounds a little funny when you say it out loud like that, but at the end of the day, we need to start the season off on the right note. I know I cringed too. So those are the two moves that I would make if I was Dougie A today. You know what? It was two defensemen. Maybe I'll do what would I do if I were Dougie A for the forwards? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's have some fun with it, actually. This is going to be not a long August, but I am so ready for hockey. So I feel like maybe this is the time where we can kind of talk about things that we may not get to talk about during the regular season. So, with that being said, today's episode was fun, but let me know down in the comments below what you would do if you were general manager for the day. Like always, I will talk to you tomorrow. My filming schedule, just so you're all aware, during the month of August. For this week, it is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Every week, it's going to change. I'm going to change some things up, but I wanted to do the 3 days in the middle of the week because Monday and Friday, well, I was like, you know what? Long weekend. I will talk to you tomorrow. And like always, let's go Blues.